Everyone, my name is Cindy McDonald. I'm an instructor for the UCLA College Counseling Extension Certificate Program. I've been an instructor for almost 10 years now and love to bring to you information that you can use as you work with your students. Today, I'm so honored and proud to be able to talk to you about a very special university in London, England. I have with me Adam Austin. He's from the University of Greenwich. And Adam, I'm so glad to have you here today.
No, thanks for having me. It's really exciting to speak to a different audience. So yeah, as you mentioned, my name's Adam Austin. I'm a senior international officer at the University of Greenwich. So my job really is to support students from the whole journey of sort of applying to university and then registering and starting to study with us. So I work particularly with students from the Americas. We do get quite a lot of students from the US, so that's kind of my main focus. And I've been at the university for 2 years now, over 2 years. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of interest. So it's a really exciting time to do my job.
That's great. That's great that you have that international perspective because international students do come, whether they're coming from the US or other countries, they come with a different needs and expectations. And so having someone like yourself that can focus on that is really important. So why would they come to the University of Greenwich? What would draw them there?
I mean, we're seeing a lot of students are joining and looking at joining us now to get that international outlook. I think it's becoming more and more looks more and more favorably upon by like employers. So thinking long term, having that international experience is really beneficial. I think as well, changing trends in the US, maybe to put it lightly. Students are coming to the UK as sort of a different environment, I guess, to see a different country's perspective on the world and have a really sort of safe, loving environment to study in. A big driving force as well is cost. I do have a presentation that will go through like all of the benefits in a bit more detail, but yeah, in the UK, well, in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, you can get your bachelor's done in 3 years and then a master's in 1 year on top of that. Costs, generally speaking, are a lot lower than especially sort of out of state tuition. And we still access faster federal aid. So yeah, if you're thinking about the combined cost of it all, the UK can be a much more affordable option.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's very true. And people are realizing that they can go get an international education at a much lower cost at a really renowned university. I see the emphasis shifting. We always have talked about study abroad. Students have like the idea of taking a semester or a year off, but why not just do your whole education, especially as you said, you can do it in 3 years. So let's go ahead. Let's share more about the university and share with us what the university has to offer, the programs, the majors, the admissions process, things like that.
I will do. Just give me 1 second to get my presentation up. So can you see that okay?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, give me 1 second, sorry. We're not normally a Zoom
Now I'm
company, so
seeing.
there it is. Okay, great.
Yep. Mhm.
Um, so yeah, as I mentioned, my name's Adam Austin. I work at the University of Greenwich. I think yeah, one of the important things to just clear up straight away are some of the positives of studying in the UK. So I've already mentioned the 3 year bachelor's with the option of an extra year to do your master's. That's true of England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. In Scotland, it is a little bit more similar to the US system where you do that kind of major minor program and you do it in 4 years. But for us, based in London, we offer only 3 year undergrad programs. I think another benefit is that you can really study what you want. We have very niche, specialized courses in England. It is a little bit more intense, and it means that students that are applying need to know exactly what it is they want to study. But for students that do know, it means you can get straight into what you want to do. If you want to do computer science, you do computer science from day one. You don't have to worry about core math or core English or whatever it is. You can just focus down on what you really want to do. Um, as I mentioned as well, yeah, very cost effective. You're paying for 3 years, not four, and prices do tend to be lower for tuition fees with that access to FAFSA and private US loans. So thinking about the bigger picture, it can be a much more affordable alternative. The student visa that US students would need to come and study in the UK does allow for work on and off campus as well. Internships are generally paid, and there's a lot of sort of part-time work available both in universities and outside of universities in sort of university towns. So it's quite easy to find that work and like help sort of contribute to your savings or your spending money, I guess. We have a post-study work visa in the UK as well, so graduates automatically get 18 months at the moment to study to work in the UK and find a job. After that point, it does become sort of the responsibility of your employer to sponsor you. But again, I think that's a really exciting opportunity for students. It tends to be just sort of anecdotally a bit of a mixed bag with students that we get, whether they want to get their degree and then return back to the US, or if they're looking to move here long term. But having that option, having a little bit more time to figure out what they want to do and find that job is a great benefit, really, of studying in the UK. And yeah, the admissions requirements, the admissions process, it's a little bit confusing because it's very different to the US system, but it's actually very transparent. And every university will lay out quite clearly what their entry requirements are, what they expect their students to be getting. And if you're getting those, if you're working at that level and you have those grades, you should be in a good place for an offer. It's kind of a bit of a long story, but in the UK, you are limited to applying for 5 courses. So that can be 5 programs at one university, that can be the same program at 5 different universities, but you're limited to 5. So it means that students have to think quite carefully about where they want to apply to, but it also means that we're not receiving as many applications. We know exactly what our students are getting and the kind of level they should be working at, and then we can just say that quite clearly. So students should know if they're in a good position for an offer or not. And obviously, there's all of the benefits of studying abroad. I mean, the independence, the initiative, all of the different kind of skills that students get, it really builds their character. London, in particular, is a huge gateway to Europe. We've got 4 or 5 airports, trains to Europe, trains to Paris. So I think it's a great thing for students to be able to talk about once they've graduated and are looking for jobs, and it separates them from a lot of their peers, maybe that sort of stay in the US. Why Greenwich in particular? So we have over 300 different undergraduate programs, and we're split into 4 faculties. So that's the business school, the liberal arts school, engineering and science, and education, health and human science. As I mentioned, courses in England are very specific. So there's a huge amount of variety there. We do have sort of broader courses like business management, which will sort of cover all aspects of business, and then students will choose to specify as they go through the years. But if a student knows straight off the bat, I want to do marketing and brand management, we've got that course as well. So there's a whole long list. I really encourage students that are thinking about it to go onto the specific course pages for all of our programs. It has every single module laid out with a description of the expectations, learning objectives, the assessment, and students get a real clear picture of exactly what it is they're studying. Like I say, it is quite important for students to apply for the course that they're really interested in. The application process is tailored more towards sort of the academic side to it, and why do you really want to do this course? So it's important that students that are applying to the UK have thought really carefully about, is this something I want to do? There is a little bit of opportunity to move around if you sort of come to university and you realise in the first couple of weeks, first month, oh, I'm doing economics, but really I want to be doing finance. Normally that's fine. There can be some visa issues if you have to like change massively, and also just if you noticing that kind of thing as early as possible is really important. But yeah, if you sort of come and you're doing film production, realize actually I want to be doing engineering, that can be a little bit more difficult in the UK. So it is important to think quite carefully about, is this something I really want to do? All of our courses are designed in conjunction with business and industry, and we use the latest research-informed curriculum. Our teaching staff all have sort of teaching qualifications, but also industry experience, and we really are kind of a careers-oriented university. So we've worked quite hardly to make sure that all of our courses are really relevant, and they all have kind of clear career progression, I suppose. The other thing we do, I think this is quite general across the UK really, is student support. Universities really care about their students and making sure they're getting the most out of their time here. So yeah, this is some of the support that we have on offer, whether that's accommodation support, and I'll speak a little bit more about accommodation later. The International Student Advice Service, which is there to handle any questions really relating to immigration and visas. Um, Consistent academic support, so they will get a personal tutor on day one, and that is their tutor that stays with them from the moment they join university right through to graduation. They're there for academic support. They'll be from the faculty, but they're also there for sort of mental health check-ins, well-being, just seeing how they're getting on, and any careers advice as well. Disability well-being, mental health support, and then the students' union as well, which is kind of difficult to explain. It's very common in the UK that it sits kind of separately to the university itself, and they offer all of the same support, but in a kind of a more independent way. So if you are having a problem with your personal tutor, or you don't want to complain to the university about something, you have a second support system, which I think is reassuring for students to know that stuff really is confidential and can be kept very separate if they wanted to. So like I mentioned, employability is a big thing for us at Greenwich, and it's sort of through everything that we do. So our courses are very practical, they're very hands-on in the way that we teach. And that's another thing to look at for students that are thinking about studying in the UK is what kind of education do you want? Some students really want that heavy theoretical book knowledge, and there'll be some universities that provide that amazingly. We are a more hands-on practical vocational university. So for students that really want to sit down in the interview and say, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So yeah, we will invite industry in quite regularly to lead workshops for students to get used to sort of working in that kind of environment. We have client-based dissertations where students will be working to a brief for a business and getting used to working like that. So there's lots of different ways that we can kind of get actual hands-on experience through the course, even if it's not necessarily a practical hands-on course in itself. Something like history, for example. We have the employability and careers service as well, so they're a really dedicated team. We have sort of careers leads on every subject that will be highlighting relevant part-time work opportunities or summer internships. And they also run these big careers fairs every semester where we get industry coming in and saying what kind of opportunities we've got. They also do mock interview practice, they do counselling sessions, they do CV workshops. They're really there as much as the student wants to use them. No one's ever going to force a student to sit down with the careers team, but I always say, you should be going there as early as you can. They make themselves known, and it really helps with kind of long-term prospects and the plan. The other thing is that almost all of our courses have the option of a placement or a sandwich year. So in the UK, that would be studying for 2 years, doing your sort of year in industry, a whole year's work experience, and then coming back to do your final year. So that's why we say sandwich, because you're stuck between the two.
I was going to
areas.
ask you what that was, because that is
Yeah,
a new term. And
yeah,
so it's sort of, it's different than a gap year then. You said it's sort of like working for 2 years and then coming back and finishing your degree.
So you'd be studying for 2 years. You then do 1 year of work placement, and then you finish your degree with a final year of study. So you're still doing a 3-year course. You just sandwiching it with a year in industry in the
That's
middle.
great. That's great.
It's really popular. It's completely optional. We would never like force a student to do it, but a lot of our students do choose to take that opportunity. We do have some great partnerships that will have a certain amount of students from us each year. There's also support to find their own internships. You're not tied to being in London. You can look elsewhere in the UK. You can look internationally as well. And we don't really accept paid internships as well. The students don't pay a tuition fee, the full tuition fee that year either. It's normally set at about £1,200, £1,500, just to keep up that access to the university, keeps them very much a student at the university. And there are sort of some assessment that we do throughout the year as well, just to sort of keep tabs on how it's going. But yeah, it's really popular to get that whole year's work experience as a part of your degree, especially for US students. You're still going to graduate at the same time as your peers in the US because it's just 4 years, which is what you're used to. So there's not even a time issue with it as well. And yeah, it's completely optional, but it's really popular, and almost all of our courses have that option, which is a great thing.
Yeah, no, that's great because you get to combine education with hands-on, working in the field. And I would imagine a lot of times that leads to a job after you finish your degree.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not unheard of to have employers going, yeah, well, once you've gone and got your degree, come back, there's a job waiting. I never like to guarantee these placement years, or guarantee a spot at a certain company, you do still have to apply. There is an application process, but there's a lot of support. And if a student comes into second year going next year, I want to do that year in industry, we don't really have students that want to do it and can't. The problems start, when it gets really late and student panic and things. Actually, I'd love to do that next year. It's like, well, we can't just magic up a spot for you. You've got to be on it. But
Mhm.
if you know you want to do that, then the support's there and it should be completely fine. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a great thing that we offer.
Yeah. Here in the US, we call it co-op. So universities, Drexel, other universities are well known for offering their co-op programs. And that is a draw for students. And yeah, go to London, go to school, study what you want to study, and then work and do it all within 4 years. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the other aspect I think is being part of a student community. I mean, I th- we really are a global university. I mean, and we're based in London. It attracts students from all over the world, and I think that's really exciting. Like I said there, sorry, students from over 150 different countries. You get a real global perspective. I think also it's important to mention that the sort of admissions process and the way the teaching is done it is all a little bit more academic, I suppose, in the UK. But that doesn't mean that's all there is to it. And being a student is so much fun as well. We have over 115 different clubs and societies for students to join. So that's anything from like film club to something like, I don't know, the Law Society if they're studying law. And it's a great way of sort of networking, making friends, keeping up your interests. Um, we offer sports as well, so we compete regionally in sort of the London leagues and also in the national university leagues. When I'm speaking to US students, I do always make it very clear that you aren't going to find these massive stadiums in the UK for sort of college athletes. It's not as much of a thing. It's very much a sort of social thing that we do, and it's a big part of university life and a really fun thing to get involved in. But you're not coming to the UK to get drafted for a like soccer team, or you're not coming to the university to do that. It's not on the same scale here. It's much more social. So we do have like a first team for most sports that you have to do trials for. And then we will also have like always at a social level as well, just sort of competing against other faculties or other local universities. So different levels to get involved in, but it's never at that top level, I suppose.
Mhm.
And then yeah, student union events. So they sort of do all kinds of like takeovers. They do our sort of orientation week at the start. I don't know whether that's like club nights or it's film nights or whatever it is. There's always a lot going on campus for students to get involved in. So it is a very social place. We're really lucky to be a campus university. So based in London, that is quite rare. But we do have everything kind of in one place. So you get that real community feel with lots going on. And I think that's quite reassuring to US students as well, who are tend to be more used to that sort of traditional campus college experience. I think we can kind of emulate that at Greenwich quite well.
But are 35,000 students on the campus?
So we're split across three campuses, which I'll show in a little
Okay.
bit. That does include undergraduate, postgraduate researchers, PhD.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anywhere ever feels that crowded. It's just yeah, that's.
Okay.
We're sort of considered mid-size in the UK, so some will have even more students than that.
Ah.
So yeah. Yeah, another big draw for our students is our London location. So yeah, you can sort of see campus here in the front, and then it's right on the River Thames, opposite Canary Wharf, which is the business district. So I think that helps with our kind of industry connections as well. We are so close to the heart of industry. Um, I'm obviously very biased. I've been in London pretty much my whole life, so yeah, I can go on and on and on about it. But there is just so much to do there, and it's such a fun city to be a student in. Obviously all of the big touristy spots, but I think students get a real different side to London by actually living there for a few years and getting to really experience it, and not just the sort of city centre and the sort of tourist traps, but actually all of the different boroughs and suburbs of it. And there's so much to do and places to eat, music, concerts, everything. It's yeah, it's a really exciting city to be in. Um, there's also a lot of student deals in London, so I think people see London and sort of think, oh, that's going to cost an absolute fortune. There's no point in pretending that London's not our most expensive city. It is. It's the capital city. But student deals are really common. So it's not too much. And I think sort of, especially when you compare it against some prices in cities in the US, it's not at that same level. Um, yeah, as I mentioned, we have three campuses, so I'll just very quickly go through them now. Um, our sort of main campus, I suppose, is our Greenwich campus. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's where Henry VIII was born. It's also used very often as a film location, so it does pop up in lots of different Hollywood films. So you might recognise it from I don't know, things like Pirates of the Caribbean or Jurassic World. So it's where our sort of Faculty of Liberal Arts is, and our business school and our School of Design. So all of those courses are located here. Greenwich is a really lovely part of London. It's kind of a tourist destination in its own right. Lots of cafes, bars, restaurants, supermarkets, everything you need is there. And then you're about sort of 15, 20 minutes from central London. You can get there by bus, boat, train, tube. It's very well connected. And it's nice because it is a little bit greener. It's a little bit calmer than right in the city centre, but you have that access when you want it. And I think the other benefit is that, it is that campus. So you're getting that kind of, yeah, community feel that I spoke about earlier. So our second campus is Avery Hill. Let's see if I think I've frozen. This is the home of our sort of education, health, sciences courses. Um, it's a little bit further out of central London. It's still in London. It's probably about 20-25 minutes from central London on the train. So you're not on the tube, it's a little bit further out. The benefit of it is that this is not a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So there are facilities here that we can't build at the Greenwich campus. So that's mainly our sporting facilities. You can see our tennis courts, our AstroTurf, football pitches in the picture. Again, very green. And yeah, some of the healthcare related sort of courses we have there are really, really exciting. We've got these really lifelike models that are actually a little bit unnerving to me, but it really helps with the sort of teaching and picturing themselves in the sort of real setting, I guess. So yeah, that's our other campus, and then our third campus is our Medway campus. So this is a little bit further out of London. This is in Kent, which is a lovely part of England. It's the Garden of England, it's called. So it is again very green, very rural, and a really lovely part of the country. Access to beaches, access to London as well. So you kind of get the perfect middle ground. And this is where all of our engineering courses are based. We share the university with a couple of other universities, so we're all putting our funding in. It means it's very busy as well. Lots of students around. So it's a great place for sort of networking, making friends. And yeah, this is just where all of our engineering, specialist engineering facilities are. Again, it's the same thing with them. With UNESCO World Heritage Site, we just can't be building all the labs there. So accommodation, I know, is kind of, I think, a big concern of students when they're looking at studying in the UK. And it will be different at all universities. So it's definitely worth sort of reaching out to people and asking the question. We're really lucky. We do have accommodation at all three of our campuses, and for students that are joining in the September, as long as their applications are in by the end of June for accommodation, we can guarantee them a space. It might not be their first choice, but they will definitely get a space. It is a little bit different to the US. We don't really have roommates. They'll be having their own sort of private rooms, and then the kind of option of sharing a bathroom, sharing a living space, or having it all to themselves, and that's all just going to change the cost a little bit. I think we do have one accommodation that has the option of roommates. Every year we do get asked, "Oh, can I share a room with my friend that's also coming across?" And it's like, you can, but you're really not made to at all, which I think is a bit of a draw. I don't know, maybe I'm too English, but I just can't imagine having to have a roommate at university. So it's nice to have your own private space.
That is
Um,
definitely an American thing, having,
yeah.
the dorm experience and sharing a room with three people. Yeah, that's
No, I mean, when I was at university, I had sort of, yeah, it worked in similar way. I had like six of us in a flat, and we had a shared living space. We shared our bathrooms, but I think it is nice to go to sleep in your own room.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and you still get a social experience, but yeah, just a little bit of extra privacy, I suppose. So yeah, there's a whole range of accommodation, varying in price as well. We do have a lot of our accommodation at the Avery Hill campus, which is the one that's a little bit further out. The benefit of that is because it's a little bit further out, it's a lot cheaper. But if I'm honest, most of our international students that come do choose to be at the Greenwich campus because you're a little bit more connected to central London and you get that proper sort of London experience of being on the tube. But yeah, it's just something to consider. And it just does, having that option at Avery Hill means you can really bring the price down if you want to. And then we have shuttle buses that go between our campuses anyway, so you are still very well connected. Um, I think it's also a weight off the mind for parents as well. We have 24/7 security. You need your student card to get into everywhere. There's always residential support on hand again, 24/7. So yeah, I think it's a nice sort of reassurance for parents too, and for the students as well. In second and third year, you can apply for the accommodation. It's not guaranteed in the same way. But honestly, we find that students don't really want it in second and third year. They've made their friends, they know London a little bit better. They might be happy to live in a different part of London and get on the tube and come to university for classes. And oh, to be honest, like people in second and third year don't want to be living with people in first year. I think they have maybe a different attitude to studying. So yeah, it's an option, but it's not that popular. The other thing is you're not obligated to be in accommodation if you don't want to at all. I've had that question before. Yeah, do I have to live in accommodation? And you don't. It's just an option. So these are our undergraduate entry requirements for our university. And like I say, every university will have their own entry requirements, which they will be publicising, and it should be quite clear. If it's ever in doubt, always reach out. There's a version of me at pretty much every university. They should be on the website, and no one will hesitate to answer any questions. So we're sort of test flexible, test optional, whatever you want to call it. So if you've got a GPA of a 3.2 and above, we don't require anything else. If the GPA has slipped a little bit, we'll accept students with a 2.8 as long as they have ACT, APs, SATs, just something to support that application. We do require a personal statement as well. So this is from 2026, moving to answering 3 questions, which is just going to be about why the student wants to study the course, what they're hoping to get out of it, and what else they're going to contribute to university life. It's pretty clear what they need to answer. I think if you're hitting these entry requirements and you write a decent personal statement that shows genuine interest in the subject and shows that you've thought a little bit about what you're going to be studying and a little bit of sort of independent thought, maybe you've read a book that you weren't told to read, or you've, I don't know, watched a documentary. It doesn't have to be like anything huge, like, oh, I did work experience here, I did work experience here, because not everyone has the same opportunity, but just showing that you've done something that shows, yeah, I am passionate about this and I do care about this. You should be in a good place for an offer. It is a lot more transparent. In the UK, we don't have admissions rates, acceptance rates. I get asked this all the time, and I genuinely don't have that number. It's not something we really track because it's a lot clearer. So yeah, with these kind of results, for us, you should be in a good place for an offer. We also just do direct entry, so yeah, you can graduate from high school and go straight into year one. There's no need to do any kind of foundation year. You don't need to be looking at like, oh, I need to do a year at community college or anything like that. You can come straight into the university. So yeah, this is what it is for us. And just check at other universities what they're looking for as well. I think you will maybe notice that some universities will still be asking for APs. But I think the trend seems to be sort of reducing that requirement elsewhere. Kind of noticed that's going on in the US. So a lot more universities in the UK will start to be more flexible. And I would always ask, if you've got a great student and they're just missing something, it's definitely worth asking the question, I think, to see where universities can be flexible. I think it's something that we particularly know, or I particularly notice with US students, is that they can have a real mismatch of qualifications, and maybe they have got a GPA that's a 3.1, and that's because they failed gym, but they want to come and do computer science. And just having like a bit of a dialogue is really useful. So yeah, definitely I would say always reach out if you are unsure, because I think most universities will try to be helpful where they can be, or at least point you in the right direction. Maybe it's not right for one university, but they might know another university where it would be accepted. So yeah, I'd always just say reach out.
So, Adam, let's define some of these things that you have on here. When it says flexible, what does that mean?
So, well, for us, that would mean you can you can have these extra tests and provide them, but you don't have to. So I think yeah, there's a bit like test flexible, test optional. It works a little bit different in the UK because it's not the because it's so clear on what we expect. Students, I think, worry like, oh, should I send my APs? Shouldn't I send my APs? There's no kind of question mark for us. If you've got a 3.2 and above, it doesn't matter if you've sent your APs or not. It's really irrelevant. We only want to see it if that GPA is slipped. So it's flexible in the sense that it depends on it all rests on your GPA, and that's where our flexibility is. If you've got a 3.2 and above, we don't need to see anything else, and a 2.8 and above, we do need to see something else. So that's where the flexibility is. It's not about like can we are a 2.6 and a 24. That would probably be a no in most cases because the GPA is too low. But yeah, so that's where kind of our flexibility with it is. Yeah, if that makes sense. I don't know if I've explained that well.
And then when you say the GPA 3.2, is that an unweighted GPA that's on a transcript? Some schools, especially here in the US, use different grading, like they have 8 point or 12 point, or they have percentages. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so yeah, when I say 3.2, that would be unweighted on the final transcript. But that's where I say that if you're working on a different scale or yeah, you're working on percentages, that's when it's just reach out and say, look, this is the system, and you won't be getting oh well, it's not exactly what we have asked for, so no. It just needs a little bit more consideration and maybe a little more explanation from the college counselor as well. We'll really listen, and if the college counselor is saying this is what they've got because of all of these extenuating circumstances, or because this is how we operate, but it would sort of broadly be this kind of, this is the kind of scale, and you can show the metrics you use and the rubric you're using. Then yeah, if it's not exactly 3.2, then it's worth having that chat. I think
Mhm.
yeah, when we post these kind of entry requirements, these are the most common ones. So it's just kind of to save inquiries really and to put people at ease. But it doesn't mean it's this or nothing. And it's yeah, definitely worth speaking to people if you've got something else going on. I think the other question I get a lot as well is like they might have done sort of some college modules.
We call it dual enrollment.
Yeah,
You're in the US where you've taken college classes along with your high school classes, or the college classes are offered on your high school campus. Yeah, so that is another good question.
yeah, so that kind of thing, and it's like we can't advertise an exact science to that, but again, it's
Mhm.
worth sort of explaining what you've done, speak to admission staff, speak to reps, and they'll be able to sort of say, okay, right, understood. Now we know what you're doing. Because I think that's the difference we have with the US as opposed to almost anywhere else. Actually, is the amount of variety and the different educational backgrounds students might have had. So yeah, I always say like these aren't black and white. It's just a sort of a guidance to help if you fit into this category. If you don't fit into this category, that doesn't mean the university is not open to you. It just might need a little more explanation. Yeah,
And I would highly encourage counselors, parents, and students too to follow that advice, because you can, speaking to admissions representatives like yourselves, does give that opportunity to have that conversation about each individual situation. And I know I've had students who've done that who then have gone on and been, admitted and very successful in the UK. So I think that's really good advice. Just ask, if you're not sure, or or even if you are sure, it's always good to make that connection and talk to people. So, yep.
definitely. And also, I think the other thing with that is like in my role and sort of my colleagues that work at other universities, um, we understand the entry requirements and we sort of work with admissions on that, but we're not actually admissions officers. So I've spoken to like parents and kids before, and you can just tell they're really stressed because they think I'm writing everything down and I'm sort of putting a big mark next to them if they say the wrong thing. And it's never an interview situation. There's never stupid questions. We are very much just here to help. So that's why, yeah, if you just want a little bit of general advice, I would always just say, yeah, just ask the question, and then we will go and speak to admissions, and we can do that bit on your behalf. You don't have to worry. about any kind of stupid questions or anything like that. It's better just to know exactly where you stand and use us for that, I suppose. Um, So the last part about Greenwich, I guess. So these are our fees for 25, 26. Annoyingly, we don't have our 26, 27 fees right now. It's not been finalised just yet. We're still kind of dealing with the tail end of our 2025 cohort. But yeah, £17,500 a year for an undergraduate course. I think that's probably like 21, $22,000 a year. Um, so yeah, much more reasonable. And as I say, we accept FAFSA, we accept Sally May. I know some universities will accept Veterans Affairs, GI Bill. We don't at the moment. But again, reach out to different universities that might be able to accept that. Um, all universities will also have different scholarships packages. So the idea of kind of a full scholarship is pretty foreign in the UK. It's not something we really offer at all. And yeah, sometimes it is difficult to explain that to kids that have their hearts set on a full ride. It's just really not a thing here. So we run sort of two different scholarships, and again, this is what we've run this year. Don't have complete confirmation of what it's going to look like next year, but as a sort of paints a picture. So we normally have like an early confirmation scholarship. So that'll be for students that accept their offer, and it's normally by March 15th. So yeah, it's kind of early admission, I guess. Just sort of making that commitment. Yeah, I'm coming to this university. And then that is an automatic discount worth £8,000. So it's sort of £4,000 in first year, and then £2,000 second year, £2,000 in third year. And then we have our International Scholarship Award as well, which is a merit-based one. So this would be for any sort of students after that early confirmation scholarship. This one does require an application. It goes to a scholarship panel that will review it. And you can apply as soon as you've got an offer. So for this one, you don't need to accept your offer. You don't need to pay any deposits or anything like that. And that's useful because you can get a real clear picture of exactly how much is this going to cost before you make any kind of decision. And that would be sort of up to a maximum of £5,000. Getting that one is sort of much more rare than it could be any amount up to that amount, and that would just be a discount off first year, so that one wouldn't roll through. So yeah, the early confirmation one tends to be the better one. It does just really help us to know what kind of students are coming. But yeah, scholarships are available. It'll be different at every university, and definitely worth getting on websites to have a look at.
That's phenomenal. I am in California, and even students who are California residents cannot go to a local California State University for this. And they definitely can't go to a University of California campus for this. Now, so that's the tuition. That doesn't include accommodations, correct?
Yeah, so that's the difference, I suppose, is that yeah, when we talk about fees, it is very much just a tuition fee. Accommodation fee can vary a lot. And also what I would for us as well, our accommodation, it only includes sort of room. We don't offer any kind of board
Hmm. Hmm.
situations. Some universities do. It's not as big a thing in the UK. I think some universities do offer it. But yeah, I think I mean, in the UK, you're very much an adult at 18. So the kind of emphasis on I don't know, yeah, it's kind of a little bit more independent, I suppose, university
Hmm.
here. So yeah, it would just be covering room, and there'll be a whole broad spectrum on how much that's going to cost.
Hmm.
I think for us it can vary between like £4,000 and £10,000 for the year, depending on how the choices you make with I want a studio, or do you want to be sharing, or do you want to be at this campus or this campus? It can be a big variation, but all of the costs are on the website, and it should be quite clear.
Okay, good, good, good.
So yeah, I think that's sort of pretty much it from me. But yeah, I don't know if you've got any other questions or anything else you wanted to sort of discuss.
So let's talk about the timeline. That came up on the previous slide. So go ahead and unshare your screen. Um, it said early commitment is March 15th. The UCAS application opens on what date?
So UCAS applications will open in well, opens in two waves. Sorry, is my screen stop sharing? Oh no, hang on, I'm still
No,
sharing.
I'm still seeing it.
There we
There
go.
we
Should be got
go.
that. Sorry, not used to Zoom.
Hmm.
So UCAS applications will open in two waves. They'll open early for students that are looking at Oxbridge or are looking to come and do medicine. It's a little bit more of a complicated process. So applications open a little bit earlier for those applicants. Or the deadlines, sorry, are earlier for those applicants. And there's an earlier deadline, I think, of middle of October, end of October for those applicants. Because because we're not
Hmm.
Oxford, I'm not 100% what they are.
Yeah,
Applications
there
open
is.
in September for the following September. And then for us sort of for all other universities, we have an equal consideration deadline, which is in January. And what this means is it doesn't matter if your application comes in on October 1st or January 1st, as long as it's before that January deadline, the application will be looked at with the exact same sort of merit as any other application. After that deadline, applications will still be accepted, but it just does become a little bit more first come, first serve. So yeah, some courses might just reach capacity. That is they're the UCAS deadline. So UCAS is the most popular way that students abroad will apply to the UK. But it is worth knowing that some universities will accept direct applications as well.
They will
So
accept
this
what?
is
Say that. What kind of
direct
application?
applications.
Oh, direct.
Yeah, so it's a little bit complicated. UCAS is the sort of centralized system in the UK. It's probably our version of Common App. Every single UK university will be on UCAS. And yeah, like I said earlier, you can apply to 5 programs. So that could be 3 at one university, 2 at another, however you want to mix and match it, but it's a maximum of 5. And you write one personal statement for it. So the course should be quite similar across all 5. It's very difficult to show genuine interest in 2 subjects. So it's probably going to be broadly the same kind of subjects. Um, that costs about $35-40. And it's a one-off payment, which again, I know in the US, the cost of even applying to a school can be thousands. So again, another benefit cost-wise. But yeah, some universities will accept direct applications. So we do, for example, you can apply for free through the website and go through a very similar application process, but it just goes to us. It can still generate a UCAS ID. So you can't kind of trick the system and I'll do 5 for UCAS and then I'll start applying individually at schools. It kind of will flag. So I think UCAS is great if you know you want to be studying in London and you're not, too bothered about where you want to go, and you cover aspirational option and then one where the entry requirements are sort of more or less where you're working now, and then one is a little bit lower. But if you're just like, no, I just want to do that course at Greenwich, otherwise I'm staying in the US, then I would say, yeah, apply for free online. But yeah, and that's where the deadlines will change. So if you're applying directly to the university, they'll have their own deadlines. And I mean, for us, it is very late. We will accept applications right through to sort of August for courses that aren't already full, but some courses might be full. So I always say, just whatever you're doing, try and aim for sort of January time anyway. It gives students a lot more time to figure out the visa process, figure out where they're going to live, all of that stuff. But yeah, if sort of it's a late idea and you think, oh, actually, I would quite like to do that, you can always sort of do it after that deadline as well. So yeah,
Do you participate in clearing?
yeah. So clearing is yes. I mean,
That's
it's
a
a big thing.
whole new ball game.
It's a whole new ballgame. It's a whole other webinar probably. So yeah, clearing would be when for students in the UK, we all get our results on the 14th, well, around mid-August. And that's when we get our sort of A-level results, which is a system that we all use. And that's when students here find out if they've got their place or not. So I know it's a little bit different in the US and I think that's also really important actually to make students aware that when you get your sort of acceptance from a UK university, it's called a conditional offer. So we're saying, yeah, as long as you get this final grade, the spot's yours. But if you don't, you're going to get released into clearing, which is when you can kind of shop around and see what universities will have you with your grades. And I think that can be quite anxiety inducing for the US students. I mean, speaking from experience, it's horrible waiting for those results to come and find out if you've got your spot or not. But it is just the way the system works here, and it's not I think sort of I've had US students before be almost sort of offended by the conditional offer, being like, well, all of my peers are getting these offer letters going, yeah, you've got a space, and they can kind of take the rest of the year off. But no, it's just the way that we do things. So you do need to sort of prove yourself throughout your senior year and get that final grade. So yeah, and then if you don't, you have clearing, which is when you can look for different options.
Yeah, yeah. I've had students who went through clearing and yeah, it was a very interesting experience. But even here in the US, all offers are conditional. If you don't perform, like you bomb your last semester, then your admission can be rescinded.
Mhm.
So that, it's the same kind of concept. But I did not know that you could apply individually, like that some of the universities in the UK have just direct applications that students can submit. So can they do their 5 through the UCAS and then submit more directly to universities or?
Not really, because it does still generate a UCAS ID number. So if they, yeah,
Okay,
you
got it.
can't cheat the system in that way.
Okay,
Um,
because
yeah,
people do that here in the US all the time because you can only put like 20 universities on the Common App. So they'll apply through the Common App and then they'll apply, through other ways. So that's an important. And what I want to point out too is that that initial timeline is much shorter. That you January is the deadline, you have to have it, and then by March 15th, you're deciding whether or not you're doing that early admit.
yeah.
Um,
That sort of March 15th deadline is just an us deadline from a scholarships perspective.
mhm,
So it's
right,
not across the board. You have to accept your offer by 15th March wherever you're going. It's just for
right.
us. If you want that early admission scholarship, that's our deadline for it.
Mhm.
Or it was this year. But yeah,
But still, you've got an admissions decision that a student then can make that decision. And the fact that they have more time, that is great. But it does condense, it sounds to me like it condenses that timeline, which helps reduce anxiety and many things. So I see that as a plus. I see that as a real positive thing. So so when you like at your university talk about it being international, what different countries are most represented at the university?
it honestly it changes from year to year, I think, depending on what's going on in the world. US tends to always be in our kind of top five.
Mhm.
For me, that's like working with the Americas. We do get a lot of students from Canada as well. And then yeah, sort of Colombia, Peru, Mexico are sort of my biggest countries. Outside of that, there are sort of certain yes, we tend to get a lot of students from like China, India, and then Europe as well. We've got quite close links to Europe, obviously. So we do get a lot of students from Europe as well. So it's a real sort of broad spectrum. And I think again that's due to all of the same benefits, but also just that London location, it really does just attract students from all over the world. Everyone knows London or wants to know London.
So if someone wants to learn more about the university, where do they go and how do they do that?
I think first port of call would always be the website. If you there are, and I think for most universities there'll be like country pages, so you can find the US dedicated page, and then you kind of can't miss my contact details on there. So, yeah, if anyone is watching this, feel free to reach out. And so name's Adam. But yeah, that'll be probably the best place to start. I think is getting on the website and just reaching out. You sometimes have to do a bit of digging, but you'll always find the right person. And like I say, there's a version of me at every university, and it is someone's job to deal with these kind of inquiries. So never feel shy or irritating to ask the questions.
I think that's great. Thank you. And I will put that contact, I'll put a link to those page to the university in the show notes. So,
Oh, great. And yeah, feel free to drop my email in there as well. I know you've got it.
okay.
So,
Okay. Thank you very much. This has been very informative and it's very exciting to learn about the university. I've been to the Greenwich area before. I can't wait to come and visit the university in the future. So that'll be something to look forward to.
yeah, definitely. And thanks for having me on as well. It's really exciting. It's a great opportunity. So, thank you very much.